All right, good morning, everyone. This is Marika with HoneyBook. Thank you so much for joining our Get Booked Faster, all about our new contact form webinar. Before we dive in though, all important, want to make sure that you guys can hear me, sort of crucial. So on the right side of the screen there where I just posted a note a couple minutes ago, if you can just type in there, give me a hello, give me your name, anything just to let me know that you can indeed hear me, and we will take it from there. I will also post a note just in case anyone can't hear me, in which case they would not have heard me ask that question. Awesome, great. Usually a good sign. As I mentioned though, if anything comes up, just try refreshing your browser or even logging in from a different one. One of those two things usually does resolve the problem. Awesome, great. So a couple other pieces of housekeeping today. First of all, we have that chat box over there on the right-hand side, as you guys have already discovered. Use that to ask any questions that you have along the way. Now, I will probably wait until the last couple minutes to get through them. We may even go like a tad over 30 minutes if we have any nagging questions we want to get to, but feel free to post them there so you don't forget them, and then we'll do our best to get through as many as possible at the end. Also, this webinar is recorded. I am going to talk fast. It's a personality trait of mine, and we have a lot to cover. But don't worry, we will send you a link to the recording as soon as this webinar wraps up today, along with a few additional helpful resources, articles, videos you might want to check out after the fact, as well as our team's contact information for any specific questions that we're not able to get to today. So we want to make sure you're all taken care of there as well. Okie dokie, a rest of the agenda for the day. We're going to start by talking about what is the contact form after all. I know a lot of you might be familiar with our legacy contact forms. So those are the ones that we had pre this new update. So you're going to be familiar, but just to recap, we will talk about why in the world to use this contact form, where you're going to share it, how you make that contact form awesome, going through a couple best practices there. And then, of course, we will dive into the product itself in terms of how we can customize our contact forms with this new contact form builder that we have just launched. And then, as I said, time permitting, any questions that we have. Alrighty, let's dive right in here. What in the world is the contact form after all? Well, the HoneyBook Contact Form is an incredibly customizable feature as of now that enables potential clients of yours to really easily get in touch with you. So what happens when someone submits this contact form, whether you have that embedded on a website or maybe you've just shared a link to it somewhere, when someone submits, that automatically creates a project in HoneyBook for you with all of the information you collected right there in your HoneyBook pipeline. And remember, projects in HoneyBook are those foundational elements. You always need them in place in order to communicate with clients. So using this contact form takes those first few admin steps just off your plate, needing to create that project. So this organizes and streamlines everything for you. And if you've been using our legacy contact form, our members, you guys have talked a long time about the functionality that would be helpful for you guys. So we have been listening, and that is why we're really excited to show you all the new things that this brand new builder can do for you guys. And a quick note, if you have been using that existing contact form, don't worry. When you open your new contact form builder, you are going to be prompted to convert to the new contact form builder. You can skip this for now, since once you convert, you cannot go back to the old builder. So just bear that in mind. But even if you do convert, any existing contact forms that you have in place, embedded on your site or sent out via direct link, are still working. Nothing is going to break. They're still intact and they can still accept inquiries. You will just need to re-embed the code if you have it embedded on your site to take advantage of these new features that we're going to look at today. And I am going to send over some materials after the fact to help walk you through that process. So don't worry, we're not going to dive deep into it today, but you will be covered there. And then the why. Why should I use the contact form? Well, first of all, it is much more organized than, for example, like responding directly to people on social media through all those various channels. Because the contact form funnels leads right into your pipeline, you know exactly where all your leads are and the status of each one as well. So who have you replied to? Who have you sent a proposal or a bookable file to? Who's paid? Then, of course, all of your conversations with that lead are in HoneyBook, in those specific projects, so you know exactly when that last communication was. So instead of bouncing around between all your social channels and your emails, responding when you can to questions and inquiries, this allows you to get all the information you need upfront and funnel it right into your HoneyBook pipeline. Sort of in the same vein, this simplifies the whole process. So you don't need to manually take down a prospect's contact information and their project details and then take the time to build out a project in HoneyBook. We are going to do that for you when someone submits these forms. And of course, through all of that, it qualifies your leads more efficiently. So your potential clients are going to know exactly what information you need from them up front, the type of project they want, they'll tell you, their timeline, their budget, whatever information you need, because you can choose what questions you ask and which ones are required for your leads to answer. So you're going to know right away whether this business is something you want to pursue. And all of this kind of combines into a streamlined process for you. So like I said, it takes a whole bunch of that admin work off your plate to give you more time to focus on the parts of the business that you love. I'm guessing it's not the collection of information. So of course, you can also take that a step further, expedite your process even a little bit more with our automated workflows. We're not going to dive too much into those today, but hopefully you guys are familiar. We'll send some resources on those as well. But essentially, you have that automated workflow set up, your client can get a response, a thank you email or a brochure or questionnaire right away. So you don't have to remember to do that with each inquiry. And so they get a response when they're primed to make a decision, which is that sort of immediate aftermath. And Sarah, yes, this will be sent out in a recording after the fact as well, not to worry. Alrighty, and then where should you share your contact form? Well, of course, we have code there. You can embed it on your website. Excuse me. You can embed it on your website, but don't forget, if you don't have a website or you don't feel like dealing with code today, and who could blame you, we also have a direct link, which you can send to people with no embedding required. So maybe you want to share that link on a Facebook business page that gets a lot of traction. Or if you're a big Instagram star, link that in your Instagram bio. Gotta love that link in bio lingo. Of course, if you have digital marketing materials, you can share a link to your contact form in those as well. And perennial favorite, emails. If you got signatures, we got footers, you got calls to action in those emails, you can have that contact me linked right there, but without needing to embed it on any website. And of course, you can always just open this link directly from your HoneyBook account if you're like talking to someone at a conference, or maybe they've just stopped you on the street and said, hey, you look like a nice photographer. I'd like to book your services. You can open that form, have them fill it out. Again, instead of needing to manually collect that information, it will then funnel right into HoneyBook for you. Okay, now how to make these forms awesome. A couple best practices for creating and sharing for you. First of all, you're going to want to keep it short and relevant. So you really only want to ask questions that you absolutely need the answers to kind of right off the bat there. So their name, their contact info, location of their project or event, and then qualifiers like what's your budget? What's your desired project date? Things like that. So those relevant questions will help you determine at the outset if that inquiry will be a good fit for your business, and keeping it concise is going to minimize the friction for your potential clients. So less overwhelm there means they're more likely to actually click submit on that form, fill it all out and send it on over to you. Now, the other thing you'll want to do is maintain your brand's experience. And that is something that this overhaul of our contact form builder is going to allow you to do in a much easier way, much more flexible way. Your brand probably already has a tone and a voice. So use your contact form to extend that. Make sure that your form's colors and fonts and wording and images, we have those now, all represent your brand. So we're going to look at how to do all of that setup in a second. Now you've taken the time to set it up, make it beautiful. You want to make sure people find it. So if you do have a website, maybe you add contact to your website's top navigation. Or you can also add it on multiple pages throughout your site, maybe on your about page, or maybe you have blog posts where you're like running a promotion. Things like that would be great places to link that contact form as well. And of course, remember, we do have that direct link option that I mentioned, so you can share really easily on social channels, in emails, etc., without needing to embed it all. And finally, you've made it easy to find. People are finding it. People are submitting. You want to make sure that you respond quickly, because people who have just submitted a contact form are kind of in that decision-making mode, right? So they're more receptive to what you have to offer right there. So the best time to respond is right away. And to that end, just a reminder, we have those automated workflows, which we're not going to get into today, but I will send some resources after the fact to set those up if you haven't. But those will allow you to automatically send a thank you email or send a brochure right off the bat, something to like grab your potential client right when they're in that decision-making mindset. Now, I also wanted to show you just two great examples of how some of our members have used our contact form thus far. So we have Bloom Boutique. This is just lovely, simple, great color scheme. We see a great use of this new kind of 2-column format to add some visual interest. We weren't able to do that in the contact forms before. We see some images in there and some text that isn't actually question related. So these are all some of the new features that they've taken advantage of. You'll also notice incredibly concise, only the relevant information. Great use of a couple different types of questions like a drop down, a simple text, an event date option. So this is a great, simple way to use the contact form. Or maybe you want to make it stand out even a little further. We also have some great formatting options like this. Make it pop with that background color, some across the board imagery, and again, great use of the editable text to make sure that that contact us is really, really visible with this great color scheme. Similarly short, relevant, to the point. So these are both great examples of how to use your contact form. Okay, all that said, let's dive right in. I'm going to head into our HoneyBook account right now. And just a reminder, to get to your contact forms, we're going to click on Tools in our top navigation bar and Contact Form. We see a nice new button there. Okie dokie. We are here today, of course, because this thing just got a major revamp. So this new version that you're seeing, if you're familiar with the legacy version, has all the old features and more, of course. So as we walk through creating a form together, we're going to learn also the layout of this new builder. So those of you who are used to that legacy contact form know where everything is now because it's going to be a little bit different in terms of layout. So let's go ahead and create a brand new contact form together. So to do that, you're going to see this left-hand side menu. I'm going to click our contact forms icon right here, the little guy at the bottom. And now this is where all of your existing contact forms, if you have any in the works already, are going to be stored. You can come in here to edit those, and where you can click that Add Contact Form button. So this is a brand new one, which is what we're going to do right now. So clicking Add Contact Form. First thing you always want to do with your contact forms and any templates of any kind that you're creating is name them so you know what you're getting in the future. So we have our little title up here in the top left corner. Maybe I'll call this guy my primary contact form. Great, all named, and you will notice that everything saves automatically, much like all templates in HoneyBook. Everything will just save. As long as you see that all changes saved, you are good to go. Now, when you create a new contact form, it is going to default to your suggested questions. So the suggested questions are the ones that are going to automatically pull into the project details fields of the projects that are created when this is submitted. So you'll notice if I hover over a question, we'll see this little kind of like linked icon, we call it. And this tells you exactly where that information is going to pull into. So in this case, full name, answer will pull into the full name field of the project that gets created. Now we see all of our suggested questions here, a couple that I want to call out. First of all, we have your project type question. Now, if you're newer to HoneyBook, just a reminder, you can customize this list. Obviously, not all of you work birthday parties and corporate events. So you can set this list up to match the types of business that you guys do in the preferences section of your company settings. This is also a really important thing to set up correctly and to have a question about because of those automated workflows that I mentioned. Maybe you want someone interested in a birthday party to get a particular email and then a specific brochure to birthday parties, but someone coming in for a corporate event, maybe a slightly different email and a slightly different brochure, things like that. So this is a great question to keep in there and make sure that these options are set up the way you want, again, in preferences of your company settings. Similarly, your lead sources. This is also completely customizable, this list. Same place, preferences of your company settings. So definitely make sure that those are set up the way you want. Now, if you don't want all of these questions in here, no problem at all. You will notice if I hover over a question, a couple of little icons, trash can being one. I'm gonna remove a couple questions in here. Maybe we'll remove our lead type, just a couple. Yeah, yes, delete that. So you can delete whatever you need and kind of start either from scratch or start with just a few of these suggested questions. Now, we can add a few different things to this now that we've kind of pared down these suggested questions. So let's say we want to add something familiar, a question, a different question. If I hover over any old question, I will see a little plus button appear at the bottom of it. So I can click that guy to add my new content. Now, there are two different types of questions. We have suggested questions, which are those ones that automatically pulled in for me, but we also have custom questions. So if you don't want to use those project details, if you have other types of information you need to collect, you can use those custom questions instead. They will not pull into any project details fields, but they'll still be readily accessible in the inquiry that is submitted. So you'll still be able to have that information really, really handy. Now, I want to add one of our brand new custom question fields, our two fields option. So this is how those examples that we saw use that kind of two column effect for a little visual interest. So now we have a couple different questions that we can add. And it's creating that sort of two column effect. But we have not selected the type of question that this is. We can type in just like any old text in there and have this be kind of a, a one-liner. But let's say we want to customize this a little bit. You'll notice our little gear icon. This is available within every project type. Within every question type rather. Clicking that gear icon, in the case of our two fields options, allows me to select what question I want in each field. So our left field, maybe we do want one of the suggested questions in there. So we have our suggested questions up here at the top. Maybe I want to pull in that lead source question. And the other thing you'll notice in the gear icon is whether or not that question is required for your client to answer. So I want to make sure that they fill that out. I'm going to toggle that on for that question. For our right field, let's select a custom question type. Maybe this one, I want to do a single choice question. It's not required. I'll leave that toggled off. So now I'm going to say what package are you interested in? And we'll say package A, package B, and one more option, package C. Okay, so we've now added those two different types of questions. We've added one of our suggested questions back and a custom question. So you will notice all those varying custom question types that you can throw in there to really suit the needs of the question that you want answered. So we've added a question. But one of the brand new features that this contact form builder has is the ability to add content as well, images and text that is not in question form. So let's say I'm going to come up here, click my plus button one more time to add a block. If you've been using brochures, this is going to look really familiar. This time though, I'm going to click this content tab in the block selector that I have. So again, very similar to brochures, if you're familiar with those, we can add a variety of formatting options in terms of images and text. Let's say I want this left aligned image and text in here. For my text, I want that kind of contact us situation that our friend had before. So maybe it's 555-555-5555, totally valid number, www.mybusiness.com. Now I need to edit this formatting a little bit. I can just highlight the text that I want to edit, and we have our little editing toolbar. We have a whole bunch more fonts than we used to, which is also really exciting to better suit your business's brand. So maybe we select this guy here, select how large we want that to be, if we would like it bold, etc. So lots of options there. And we can do slightly different text formatting for each of these little lines that we have. Maybe we want to make it a good color as well. Let's say we want a purple. Now I can also add an image. If I click this choose image field, again, going to look familiar if you've used HoneyBook before. I can either upload something brand new or select from my image and file library. So these are images that I've added to my account in advance in that library section. So let's just throw in a guy here. Now I can edit this cropping a little bit as well, make that look the way I want it to look. Awesome. So I've now added that content block. And I actually want this in a slightly different place. I kind of want this right at the top. So you'll notice if I hover over that question, those little 6 dot icons, they're everywhere in HoneyBook. That means I can click to drag and drop, rearrange things. I'm going to pull that right up to the top there above full name. Alrighty. Let's say that the questions are in there the way we want. We have our content. Now it's time to design. So we're going to change some fonts and some colors and make it look like us. So to get to our design section over here in this left-hand side toolbar, I'm going to click this teeny tiny little magic wand, our design icon. Couple tabs in here. Let's start with our fonts actually. So with this, we can customize the fonts for all of our question types. Again, big old font list to choose from. So I can choose that. I can select, again, the size, whether I want these to be bold. Looks great. So now I can change the color. So I can head back to our main design menu and select colors. And from here, lots of options. I'm going to change the text color, maybe to something a little more purple to match. The input border, which is this kind of bottom line we got here, maybe I'll make that kind of a darker purple as well. Can change the input background, which is going to be the background of these questions. I'm going to leave that translucent though right now, and the background of the entire contact form itself. So we saw that other one, which was like a blue, a dark blue. Maybe we want to make this kind of like a nice light purple or something. But you do want to make sure that all of your colors stand out. Make sure that they're able to see this this example text, which by the way, you can always edit if you need to let your clients know exactly what you're looking for. But I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of a nice white again, because this is a little purple, a little Easter eggy. But let's say this looks great. This is exactly how we want it. Now I can head to my settings section. So to get there, going to click back to my menu, and we see our little wrench icon. So that will be the same little icon you'll see if this menu is not expanded. Now from here, again, this is going to look familiar if you've been using our forms in the past. You can select the inquiry recipient. So what that means is you can choose from the list of teammates you have in your account, and whoever is the recipient here will receive the email notification that an inquiry has come in, and with the project that's created in your pipeline, they will be assigned as the project owner. So you can select who you want that to be. And then whether you want a form submission to default to a thank you message, kind of a standard thank you, or if you have a custom URL that you want to redirect people to after they submit, maybe you want to just get them right back to your website, you can do that as well. Now, another cool thing about this contact form is it should be what you see is what you get. This should be exactly what your client is going to see when you embed or share this, but we also have that preview button up in the top right corner. If I click that, whoops, I think this guy, I accidentally deleted these guys. I'll just throw in some text there. So clicking preview is going to let me see exactly what my client will see. So there it is. You can always double check and make sure it looks the way you want it to look. Great. Everything looks good. We have a nice Easter egg of a contact form that we can embed or share. So now on to the embedding and or sharing. So just a reminder, if you do have those existing contact forms on your website embedded, you will need to re-embed this contact form to take advantage of the new features. Your existing forms are not broken. They will still accept inquiries. Everything will be functioning just fine. But if you want to take advantage of all of this new stuff you can do, you will need to re-embed it. Or if you're embedding it for the first time, going to be the same process. We're going to click this publish button up here in the top right corner. And clicking that both kind of saves this form in its current format and gives you that code to embed. All you need to do is copy that code and head to your website to embed it on there. It should be pretty self-explanatory if you're familiar with your own website builder that you've been using. But we also do have embedding instructions for a host of different websites, which I just sent over. And just a reminder, I'll also send an email after this with not only a link to the recording, but some recommended kind of additional reading of other resources that might be helpful. So this is the code that we would copy to embed it on our website. But the other thing that happens is once I click publish, if I head back to my settings, we now have an option for that direct link. So this is what I can click to copy, our little copy icon. And then, like I said, we can share that on our social channels or in our emails, or we can use our little open link in new tab option to just open this contact form on our computer or on our mobile device and have a client submit something right there in person. So you don't need to actually collect their information. Now, once again, I'm going to be sending a follow-up email with instructions on how to do this because I know we moved quickly. Embedding instructions, conversion instructions for those of you who have been using the legacy contact form. So that should give you the whole rundown. If you need a little bit of deeper reading, you should have everything you need there, as well as some information on those workflows to take advantage of those. But if you don't see what you're looking for, or you just have some questions that are maybe a little bit more specific to you, remember, click that question mark icon in HoneyBook. This is how you can message our team. We are available via chat 7 days a week. You can also email concierge@honeybook.com. Either way, you're going to get a wonderful conversation with a wonderful human who is there to help. So remember to get in touch with them if you can't find the answers you're looking for in those additional resources that I sent over. All right, coming in just under the wire, we have a couple minutes for questions, which is super awesome. So I'm going to start getting through any questions that have come in. Will the info in the contact form automatically populate your questionnaire? Good question. So the questionnaires and the contact forms are two different things. So there won't be any, the questionnaire is a file type in HoneyBook. So contact form responses are not going to populate anything in a questionnaire. What will happen is it will create that brand new project in HoneyBook, like I said, and it will have a post basically in the activity feed of that project with all of their answers. So even if there were custom questions in there that aren't going to pull into project details, you'll be able to see them in that activity feed post, as well as in the email that gets sent if you're the kind of owner, the inquiry recipient. That's hard to say. If you're the inquiry recipient, you will receive that email with all of their answers, and it will post in the activity feed. And then, of course, if you've used any of those suggested questions, those answers will populate into the project details. But to your actual question, nothing will populate into any questionnaires, but you can send an additional questionnaire if you need to gather some more information from them. Okay, would love to get a recording. Yes, of course, absolutely. We'll send you that email. Do you know what the what the image sizes are for those templates? Yes, so we actually, real fast here, gonna head to our tools and our library, which is where all of those image assets are stored. And you will notice which dimension should I use. So this gives you a little bit of a guideline there. The one that we saw, that kind of left align image, is a little bit different. So I'd get in touch with our concierge team to see if they have those exact numbers, because I don't recall quite off the top of my head, but this should give you at least kind of a jumping off point. All right, guys, it is 11 a.m. Pacific time, so it's time to wrap this up. Thank you so much again for coming. Really appreciate it. Let us know if you have any questions via that question mark icon, and keep an eye out for my email coming out. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Bye, guys.